welcome everybody.
When we talk EMF, what are we talking about? Now, typically people think we're only talking about, the first thing that comes to people's mind are cellular base stations. So they think, oh boy, there's a cell phone tower 500 meters from my house or my office, that's a problem, or on top of my building. The reality is the stuff that you have control over might actually be worse for you than the ambient exposures you are exposed to. So your cell phone, which you carry on your body the whole day, the Wi-Fi router you sit next to, your home appliances that are wireless enabled or Bluetooth enabled, using your laptop, and you maybe use your Bluetooth speakers or wireless mouse or wireless keyboard, you name it. So, I mean, security is another big one. Alarm systems are all wireless and Bluetooth enabled. Motion sensors are using radio frequency. So there's so many today, everything is wireless enabled, literally everything. And the moment we think, so that's the radio frequency, that's these two-way signals that we talk about. But the reality is when a person has electrohypersensitivity, they're not only sensitive to radio frequency, they're also sensitive to electric fields and magnetic fields. And that basically means electricity. In its simplest terms, even when you have something switched on at your DB, but if I say, let's say I've got a bed lamp on, and it's switched off, but it is on. So the power is on, but the actual light next to my bed is off. Then there's an electric field, and that would affect a person with EHS. The moment you switch that light on, you create a magnetic field. And then obviously, if it's interesting because LEDs actually do have radio frequency. And if you've got anything else, I always like using the cell phone as an example. If it's completely off, and you've got it plugged in because you want to charge it, but the switch is off, then there's an electric field. The moment you put the switch on, there's a magnetic field, and the moment you switch your cell phone on, there's radio frequency. So these three play in sequence all the time. And then the fourth one, which is more difficult, is dirty electricity, and that's got to do with the wiring in your home or at your office. If it's not done properly according to standards, then there's irregularity in the electricity, and that can cause serious harm for a person with electrohypersensitivity. And the challenge we have is that people with electrohypersensitivity often move to rural areas where they have less radio frequency, but then they move into an old farmhouse and there's tons of dirty electricity. So this is a very fine balance. As Prof said, when somebody has EHS, they really need to get the right advice and guidance on how to reduce and electrosanitize the environment to make sure it is such that they can thrive in that environment. Now, this is
Could we wait a little bit before we leave that slide?
Yeah.
If you go back one, thank you. To begin with, dirty electricity is a layman term for electromagnetic disturbances. And as Davida said, you can have a whole variety of such because people and society as a whole plug a lot of things into sockets, and they will then generate different high frequency electromagnetic disturbances. And they could be easily measured, but sometimes they could be very difficult to get rid of or to shield. And also, if you move out in the countryside and you still use, for instance, a cell phone, you are further away from the antenna installations, meaning that the local exposure from your gadgets, like your cell phone or your wireless laptop, will increase dramatically. And one could always remember, and it's a kind of gross comparison, but your cell phone, your smartphone that you have in your pocket or in your bag or somewhere, that is an equivalent of several Swedish, and I would guess South African, electric train engines. It's a colossal power frequent exposure from these small gadgets because you keep them right on your body. And also, you have to remember that the allowed exposure in South Africa for these smartphones is in the order of a quintillion times higher than natural background, and a quintillion times is a 1 with 18 zeros behind. So it's a colossal or astronomical or biblical exposure level. It's invisible, so no one see it. If you don't have a measuring device, yeah, then you will immediately see these dramatic exposures. And one should also remember, I know that you have some lovely fishes outside of the beaches called sharks. And sharks, they would sense 0.05 nanovolts per meter. And you, all of you, you sit now in the order of 25 volts per meter. So it's
Yes.
enormous difference. So in biology, very, 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 very weak exposures are sensed and used and has been used for hundreds of millions of years. And our cells are not different from that aspect. So we are sensitive to very, very, very low exposures. But society has decided that colossal exposures are, and I quote, safe. But when people ask me, for instance, parents, if it is safe, I have to say no. If it would be safe, then thousands and thousands and thousands of peer review based scientific papers all would have to be wrong at the same time, and they are not. Quite the opposite. Every year, more and more information is compiled scientifically. So that's just some quick remarks regarding the different sources. And finally, also, as Davida said, for instance, here in Sweden, if you go and buy a refrigerator, the simplest, cheapest one, but it's still enabled for wireless communication. Although you don't have it, you don't have a smart home, but it's enabled to work in a smart home, and it will sense the lack of a transmitter, and therefore your fridge or freezer will dramatically increase its own output power, yelling, hello, hello, here I am. And no one is answering in your dumb home compared to a smart home then. So this is producing huge problems for electron hypersensitive people because they could point at a fridge or toaster or freezer claiming that they sense something, and then of course the people around them would say, no, no, you don't sense anything, it's just in your head, it's imagination. But if you take the simplest meter, it will go up to the roof because the exposures are tremendously high.
So, Prof, I need to make two builds. The one is you mentioned the volts, any normal person sitting, and on average, and that's if they're lucky, 25 volts.
Yeah, that's if
Um,
they're lucky. Yeah, I know.
a person with EHS copes with 3 volts. Okay, they're lucky if they cope with 5. So just to give you a comparison, that's the one thing. The other very important point Prof is making now is the interaction between these things. People don't realize. So all the new home appliances, televisions that come out, you can't deactivate the wireless. Even things like battery chargers have wireless and Bluetooth, and you can't deactivate it. So regardless if you use it or not, everything tries to talk to everything. So if we just use this picture on the screen, if you sit in your office and there's 10 appliances each that have wireless, plus your cell phone, plus your laptop, they talk to one another all the time, regardless if they actually connect.
Yeah,
And this is the challenge. And you are in the middle. So these signals go through you all the time, literally. The one other thing that I need to just raise that, and it's again talking to a fridge. So a normal electrical fridge has got massive magnetic fields and electric fields, but the magnetic fields is really an issue because it's got a motor. For people with electro hypersensitivity, for instance, a gas fridge is better because it doesn't have a motor that runs all the time. It keeps the heat, or it actually warms up to cool down, and you don't have that severe magnetic field like a fridge have. And that's just the point I wanted to make. So the fridge might be Wi-Fi enabled, but that's not the only thing that affects a person with EHS.
No,
It's the
no.
magnetic field also, as well as the
Yeah.
electric field.
And
So
Davida, I would say that I hope in South Africa that the brands that are sold in different shops are better than here, because even the simplest battery charger is practically impossible to shut off the
you
wireless
can't,
connection.
you can't,
No,
you
it's
can't.
just horrible, you know. And people are trying to do different alterations and so on, but often it's not possible at all. So I hope you have better equipment with a
We don't.
switch. You can just
No,
switch it off.
we
Well,
don't,
let's
sadly.
continue to